And I don't think either of those two could have been able to cope. They'd been anywhere else. And that was the only good thing that happened, was that they were there.
There is a building in the Scottish Highlands that means more to the British royal family than any palace in London. It does not belong to the nation. It is not managed by the government. It cannot be sold by a prime minister or regulated by an act of parliament. It is privately owned. It was privately loved. And it is now, according to sources inside the palace walls, at the center of a dispute that has drawn Princess Anne to the edge of formal legal action against a woman who is not a royal, has never been a royal, and who has no legal standing to use it at all. The woman in question is Laura Lopes, the daughter of Queen Camilla, a private citizen. And the property in question is Balmoral Castle, 50,000 acres of Highland Estate in Aberdeenshire, the place where Queen Elizabeth II spent every summer of her reign, the place where she took her last breath on the 8th of September 2022, and the place that Princess Anne has spent 74 years defending as fiercely as she defends everything else she believes in. Princess Anne does not raise her voice. She does not need to. She is the hardest working royal in the family, the woman who completed over 500 official engagements in a single year, who has served the crown without interruption for more than 5 decades, who refused to follow royal protocol in front of Queen Camilla at the University of London in November 2024, not out of hostility, but out of pure, unwavering principle. When Camilla politely invited her to enter a room first, Anne smiled, politely refused, and followed protocol to the letter. It was reported by Fox News, InStyle, People, The New York Post, and E! Online as a quietly defining moment. That small scene told the world everything it needed to know about who Princess Anne is. She does not bend the rules for sentiment. She does not make exceptions for family. And she does not stay silent when she believes the institution she has spent her life serving is being used as a personal perk by people who have made no corresponding commitment to it. This is the story of what Princess Anne has reportedly done about Balmoral. It is the story of a private estate, a queen's children, a property transfer that generated headlines across the British press, and a woman who has spent her entire life making sure that the monarchy means something, said Borsi, and who is not about to allow that meaning to be diluted in the name of family feeling. Let us begin with the woman herself. Because this story makes no sense without understanding who Princess Anne is and why Balmoral matters to her in a way that goes far beyond real estate. Anne Elizabeth Alice Louise, the Princess Royal, was born on the 15th of August, 1950. She is the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, and at 74, she shows no signs of slowing down. Royal commentators who have covered the family for decades are consistent in their assessment. Anne is the most disciplined, most committed, and least theatrical member of the royal family. She does not seek the spotlight. She does not manufacture drama. She turns up, does the work, and goes home. She has been doing this without complaint, without pause, and without public recognition anywhere close to commensurate with her contribution since the early 1970s. Town and Country confirmed in January 2026 that Anne began the new year with official duties at Windsor Castle and a rare public statement about the work of the Carers Trust. Geo News reported in December 2025 that she was set to lead royal engagements from the very first working day of 2026, as she does every year, reinforcing what everyone who follows this family already knows. She is not a figurehead. She is the engine. Her relationship with Balmoral is not simply professional. It is personal, in the deepest sense. She grew up there. She rode horses on those hills before she was old enough for school. She spent summer after summer in those highland landscapes with her mother, her father, and later her own children. Prince Philip and Princess Anne were photographed at Balmoral together as recently as 1972, barbecuing in the grounds, laughing together. Images that sit in the Times archives and in the memory of everyone who has followed this family's story. The estate is not just a property to Anne. It is her childhood. It is her mother. It is the place where Queen Elizabeth finally set down the weight of the crown and rested, and where, in the end, she died. For someone like Princess Anne, Balmoral is not negotiable. It is sacred ground. And the suggestion that it is being treated as anything less, as a weekend destination for people who married into or were born to people who married into the family, is not a matter of taste or preference for her. It is a matter of principle. And when Princess Anne has a matter of principle in front of her, she acts. Now let us talk about Balmoral itself, because many people do not fully understand its legal status, and that understanding is essential to everything that follows. Balmoral Castle and its 50,000-acre estate in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, is not part of the Crown Estate. This is a distinction that matters enormously. The Crown Estate, which includes properties like Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, belongs to the nation and is managed by the government on behalf of the monarchy. A monarch cannot simply give away a piece of the Crown Estate. It does not work that way. Balmoral, however, is genuinely, legally, privately owned. Prince Albert purchased it from the Farquharson family in 1852 for £31,500 as a personal gift for Queen Victoria. Since that purchase, it has been privately owned by the reigning monarch, passed down through the family as private property. When Queen Elizabeth II died, it passed to King Charles III as a private inheritance. Hello Magazine's Royal Homes feature in January 2026 confirmed this clearly. Balmoral remains the private property of the monarch and is not part of the Crown Estate. InStyle's February 2026 profile described it as a $100 million private royal estate. This private status gives the monarch genuine personal discretion over the estate. It means Charles can open it for public tours, which he did for the first time in 2024, as Hello Magazine confirmed in March 2026, noting that the interior guided tours were a sellout success and continue in 2026. It means he can decide who uses the various properties on the estate. And it means that if someone uses those properties without appropriate authority, whether explicitly or implicitly, the legal framework for addressing that is the framework of private property law, not constitutional convention. King Charles and Queen Camilla use a property called Birk Hall on the Balmoral estate as their personal Scottish retreat. It is a separate property within the broader estate, boundaries, with its own history and its own staff. The main castle, which has been in the ownership of successive monarchs since 1852, belongs to Charles alone. And it is the main castle and the wider estate that sits at the center of the current dispute. If you are finding this analysis valuable and you are not yet subscribed to this channel, please take a moment right now to subscribe and turn on notifications. We cover the British royal family with depth and seriousness, drawing on documented sources rather than speculation. This community is for people who want to understand what is actually happening behind the palace walls. Subscribe now and stay with us for the rest of this story. To understand why Camilla's children have become a flashpoint in this particular dispute, you need to understand who they are, and equally importantly, who they are not. Queen Camilla has 2 children from her first marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles, which ended in divorce in 1995. Tom Parker Bowles was born in 1974. Laura Lopes was born in 1978. Both attended their mother's coronation in May 2023. Camilla's grandchildren served as pages of honor at the same ceremony. These are significant, visible, emotionally loaded appearances at the most formal state occasion in a generation. They sit in the front rows of photographs. They wear the right clothes. They are present, but they hold no royal titles. They perform no official royal duties. They receive no funding from the sovereign grant. They are, in the language of the palace and in the language of the law, private citizens. Thomas Mace Archer Mills, founder of the British Monarchist Society, confirmed this explicitly to the iNews site. Tom and Laura gain no formal benefits from their royal connection. They are wealthy, well-connected, and well-regarded in their respective worlds. Tom as a food writer and broadcaster, Laura in the arts. But they have made no formal commitment to the crown. They have taken on none of its obligations. They serve none of its duties. Tom Parker Bowles has spoken publicly and warmly about his mother's rise to the throne. Before the coronation, he told the Newsagents podcast that she is still their mother and that Camilla had married the person she loved. He is not a hostile figure. He is not trying to exploit his connection to the throne. He is simply a man whose mother happens to be queen. Laura Lopes is even more private. She keeps a low profile, works in the arts, is married to Harry Lopes, and has largely avoided the kind of public exposure that invites criticism. People magazine and Yahoo News both confirmed in September 2025 and December 2025 that she occasionally joins her mother for engagements, visiting the set of the television series Rivals with Camilla in December 2025, and appearing with her mother and granddaughter for a shopping outing in Scotland in August 2025, as Hello Magazine reported. That Scotland outing is worth pausing on, because Scotland, and specifically the area around Balmoral, is where the questions about access and boundary become most acute. The royal family's Balmoral holiday in August 2025 was covered by The Times, which noted that all the royals were back for their Highland gathering. Camilla was photographed shopping with Laura and her granddaughter Eliza in Scotland during that period. The presence of Camilla's daughter in the vicinity of Balmoral during the royal family's private summer retreat is, in isolation, entirely unremarkable. Of course, a daughter visits her mother. Of course, family gathers. The problem arises when the visiting begins to look like something more than visiting. When a private individual begins to use a royal estate as though their connection to the Queen gives them standing that it legally does not. When the informality of family arrangements begins to shade into the assumption of entitlement. And when the person who notices and objects to that shading is Princess Anne, you can be certain that she will not simply note her concern in a diary and move on. The Ray Mill House transfer is the event that brought everything to a head. In February 2026, Camilla quietly transferred ownership of her private Wiltshire residence, Ray Mill House, which she had purchased in 1996 following her divorce from Andrew Parker Bowles, and which had served for decades as her personal retreat from royal life, to her children. Hello Magazine broke the story on February 28, 2026. Royal Central confirmed it on March 4, 2026. AOL, the Gazette and Herald, Jang News, and multiple Reddit royal forums all covered the same report. The land registry documents revealed that the new registered owners were Harry Lopes and financier Jake Irwin, representing Laura Lopes and Tom Parker Bowles, respectively. Buckingham Palace issued no comment. The transfer was described in early coverage as a discreet move, a quiet decision made without announcement. But in royal circles, quiet decisions are never simply quiet. They are read. They are assessed. They generate precisely the kind of concern that the palace would prefer to manage privately. Royal finance experts offered two main interpretations. The first was straightforward tax planning. In the United Kingdom, properties transferred more than 7 years before the donor's death are generally exempt from inheritance tax. If Camilla transferred Ray Mill House now while in good health, her children would inherit it tax-free in due course. This is not an unusual strategy among wealthy property owners. It is legal, it is common, and many financial advisors recommend it. The second interpretation was less comfortable. For months, tabloids, including the Daily Mail and publications across Australia, had been reporting rumors about the state of Charles and Camilla's marriage. Claims that they spend considerable time apart, that their living arrangements are more separate than official royal life suggests. Buckingham Palace has denied these rumors, but the Ray Mill House transfer, combined with the marriage rumors, produced an obvious inference that Camilla may be quietly securing assets in her children's names against an uncertain future. Now, to Love noted in March 2026 that the transfer had fueled divorce rumors specifically because Ray Mill House had been described as Camilla's bolt hole, the place she could be herself outside of royal duty. Putting it in the children's names removes it from the marital estate in any future separation. Reddit's Royalty Tea forum captured the public's growing awareness of this possibility in detail, with extensive discussion of the legal implications. Princess Anne is not naive about any of this. She has spent 50 years navigating the most complex family institution in the world. She understands property law, she understands the implications of informal arrangements, and she understands better than almost anyone alive what happens when private citizens begin to treat royal properties as extensions of their personal lives. The pattern she has observed, according to sources who speak to royal commentators and journalists, goes something like this. Camilla has legitimate access to royal properties as the Queen. Her access to Balmoral in particular is established and uncontested. She uses Burke Hall as her and Charles's personal Scottish retreat. When she visits the wider Balmoral estate during the summer, she does so as Queen. What Anne has reportedly taken issue with is what happens when Camilla's family, Laura Lopes, Tom Parker Bowles, begin to use the estate in ways that their personal status does not authorize. When the line between visiting the Queen and using the royal estate begins to blur, a Facebook group post from March 25, 2026, reporting on claims from inside royal circles, described Princess Anne as having confronted the situation at the gates of a royal estate. a YouTube channel covering the story from March 2026, described Anne as having filed formal legal action. YouTube coverage from April 2026 reported that Anne has taken legal action over the alleged use of Balmoral by Camilla's daughter. These reports, while drawing on insider sources that cannot be fully verified, align with everything that is publicly known about Princess Anne's character and her approach to institutional boundaries. This is not the first time the dynamic between Anne and Camilla has generated comment. Their relationship goes back further than most people realize. Camilla Parker Bowles, then Camilla Shand, was in the social world of the British aristocracy in the late 1960s and early 1970s when Princess Anne was of a similar age. Andrew Parker Bowles, whom Camilla would marry in 1973, had been briefly linked to Princess Anne herself in that same period. Both couples married in 1973, Anne to Captain Mark Phillips, Camilla to Andrew Parker Bowles. This shared social and romantic history adds a particular texture to a relationship that has been formally cordial for decades. Anne attended Charles and Camilla's wedding in April 2005. She has appeared with Camilla at public events on many occasions. She presented Camilla with an honorary doctorate of literature at the University of London in November 2024, an event that became widely reported when Camilla invited Anne to enter the room first, and Anne politely but absolutely declined. The Daily Express, the New York Post, InStyle, Fox News, and People all covered the moment. Anne smiled. She acknowledged Camilla's kind gesture, and she followed protocol. Because that is what Anne does. She follows the rules, and she expects others to do the same. Royal commentators have been consistent in their assessment of Anne's position regarding Camilla's children. She respects Camilla as her brother's wife and as queen. She accepts that role and treats Camilla with the deference that role requires. But Camilla's children are not royals. They have not made royal commitments. They have not taken on royal duties. The respect Anne has for Camilla does not extend to an acceptance that Camilla's private family should have informal access to the crown's most private estate. Spectrum FM reported on April 2nd, 2026, that long-standing rivalries are fueling a new rift between Anne and Camilla, with sources pointing to exactly this tension over royal properties and family access. Now let us step back and look at the broader picture. Because this dispute, however it resolves, is taking place in a context that gives it particular weight and urgency. King Charles III was diagnosed with cancer in February 2024. He has continued to fulfill his duties with remarkable resilience, attending the COP30 countdown with Prince William in October 2025, hosting events at Windsor Castle, and carrying out his engagements with the steadiness that has defined his kingship. In December 2025, he announced in a rare television address that his treatment schedule would be significantly reduced in 2026, a development reported by Rolling Stone, E! Online, and ABC News. This was welcome news. But the fact of the diagnosis and the 2 years of treatment that preceded the improvement has forced the entire royal family to think more clearly about succession, about the future of royal properties, and about who will inherit what, when, and under what conditions. Tom Parker Bowles acknowledged this reality directly in December 2025 when he said, "It had been a hell of 2 years for the family." His candor was noted. His concern for his mother and his stepfather was evident and genuine. But his statement also reminded the public that Camilla's family is present in the margins of this story, aware of its stakes, and, whatever their intentions, connected to a future that will involve significant questions about property, access, and authority. If you have been following this channel's coverage of the royal family's financial arrangements over the past year, you will know that these questions are not theoretical. Please subscribe now if you want to stay ahead of the story as it develops. The decisions being made today about who can use what, about how private estates are managed, about where the boundary lies between royal privilege and personal entitlement will shape the British monarchy for decades. Subscribe, and we will make sure you do not miss a single chapter. Princess Anne's position in all of this is not simply reactive. She is not a woman who waits for problems to arrive. She anticipates them. She has spent 5 decades watching the monarchy navigate crises of various kinds. And she has developed a clear, uncompromising philosophy about what the institution requires. She has spoken publicly against expanding the royal family to include more working members. She supports a smaller, more disciplined monarchy focused on genuine service. She has zero tolerance for the blurring of lines between those who have taken on the crown's obligations and those who merely benefit from the crown's proximity. Balmoral, in this context, is not just a beautiful Highland estate with 50,000 acres and a history stretching back to Queen Victoria. It is a test case. It is the place where the question of who belongs within the boundaries of the royal family, and who merely orbits it, is being answered in real time. And Princess Anne, who was born on the inside of those boundaries and has earned her place within them every day for 74 years, is not prepared to watch those boundaries dissolve through informality and assumption. The legal action that has been reported, the formal step that would transform a family tension into a documented dispute, is, if it has indeed been taken, entirely consistent with everything Anne stands for. She does not make threats she does not intend to follow through on. She does not use institutional language without institutional intent. When she acts because she has concluded that acting is necessary. And the conclusion that acting is necessary in the matter of Balmoral and Laura Lopes is the conclusion of a woman who has been watching this situation develop for months and who has decided that the time for quiet concern has passed. What does all of this mean for the future of the royal family? It means that the decisions being made right now in private, in legal offices, and in palace meetings, and in conversations between people who will never speak to a journalist will determine what kind of institution the British monarchy is in 10 years' time. It will determine whether Balmoral remains what Queen Elizabeth II intended it to be, a private family retreat governed by clear rules and clear boundaries, or whether it becomes something more permeable, more accessible, and ultimately more complicated. King Charles wants a smaller monarchy. Prince William wants a modern one. Princess Anne wants a disciplined one. None of these visions is incompatible with the others, but they create different answers to the same question. Who belongs? Laura Lopes and Tom Parker Bowles are good people. They are not villains. They have not done anything that a great many people in their position would not have done, but that is precisely the point. They are not in a position that entitles them to what they may be assuming. And Princess Anne, who has dedicated her life to the proposition that entitlement must be earned, is the person most likely to enforce that principle, firmly, politely, and without apology. The British monarchy has survived wars, abdications, divorces, and scandals of every conceivable variety. It has survived because, at its best, it has been governed by something stronger than sentiment. It has been governed by duty, by clear lines, by the understanding that the institution is larger than any individual within it, and that protecting those lines is not unkindness, but responsibility. Princess Anne understands this better than anyone currently living. And Balmoral, the place where her mother died, where her childhood lives, where the monarchy keeps its quietest and most irreplaceable memories, is not a place she will surrender to ambiguity. We would love to know what you think. Do you believe Princess Anne is right to draw a firm line between royal family members and those who marry into or are born to people who marry into it? Do you think Camilla's children have overstepped? Or do you think the criticism is unfair to two people who are simply trying to be close to their mother? And what do you believe should happen to Balmoral in the long term? Should it remain a purely private family retreat? Or has King Charles's decision to open it to the public changed its character in ways that cannot be fully reversed? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. This community takes these questions seriously, and every perspective is welcome. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so now and share this video with someone who follows the royal family and would appreciate a thoughtful perspective on what is actually at stake. We will see you in the next one.